for a stumbling block, which is why be using trans woman sperm, doctor also trans, really makes you think.
QAnon, and I've said before, as Q, it's a pleasure for me to be able to bestow this information from on high. But this is going to be an interesting discussion. For a number of reasons. One, it's got all the things that everyone loves. It's got sex. It's got QAnon. It's got conspiracies. It's got censorship. It's got the internet. It's got even more sex. All at once. And of course, it's got the pursuit of eggs from none other than Paul Joseph Watson, who's, man, is he thirsty on the internet these days. He's going after them eggs. He wants the eggs, all right? He's going to get you. He's going to find your eggs, and there's that. Anyways, if anyone didn't know this, QAnon has been propagating on the internet for some time, just exploding all over the internet, and not in the good way. All right, this is not the kind of discourse that you're hoping for. QAnon used to propagate on Reddit, and if anyone if you want a 2-second background to what QAnon is the evolution from Pizzagate. It's the Shang Tsung of conspiracy theories. It combines all conspiracy theories into one grandiose one in which Donald Trump is the white savior of mankind, protecting us from the evil cabal of international banking conglomerate, in brackets. You know what that means, right? Who, of course, are in cahoots with Hillary Clinton, the Democrats, not to mention the deep state, and they, of course, are running a secret pedophile ring of cannibalistic pedophiles, mind you, who operate deep undertrenched and are also deeply collaborating with Hollywood. Hollywood's involved in there as well, because, again, Hollywood is controlled by the cabal, in brackets. So you get it all right? You get flavors of everything. Now, it used to be hilarious. It used to be the funniest thing on the internet. It was just a combination of boomers who did not understand how the internet works. What Q would do is Q would put out these little posts on 4chan, and they would have things, they were called crumbs. It was indecipherable gibberish. It would basically be like, follow the clues, what have you, that the storm rises, the fury comes, so saith the Q. Stuff of that nature. You think I'm paraphrasing? That's probably one of the many Q crumbs. They would come out on 4chan, and then people would just run with it. And then they would try to find connections. They would find, Q said this, and then Donald Trump would say something, and then they would think, whoa, Donald Trump is speaking to us. Donald Trump is giving us coded messaging. Again, it was hilarious. It was just something I was like, this is hilarious. Let's laugh at this. It has grown, it has blossomed, and it has developed into a pretty dangerous terrorist organization, if I can really be blunt about this. QAnoners are doing all kinds of wild stuff. QAnoners are burning down California. One of the California wildfires, those California wildfires, the ones that didn't stop raging for a very long time, one of those was started by a QAnoner, who of course was trying to make a point. Very recently in Canada, a QAnoner drove a truck into 24 Sussex Drive. Or, sorry, it wasn't 24 Sussex Drive because Justin Trudeau doesn't live there anymore. But anyways, in the Canadian equivalent of the White House, drove a truck right through the gates, fully armed. He had a lot of weapons to try and assassinate the Prime Minister of Canada. Now, he has claimed that it wasn't to assassinate. He just had a message for him. But still, that's wild. If that had happened in America, we would hear no end of it, right? There's a lot of ideology and crossover between Q and right-wing extremism. They also combine into all your favorite hits. People who don't want to get vaccinated. The anti-vaxxers have now crossed over and cross-pollinated with the QAnoners. The anti-maskers, the people who are like, masks aren't a good thing, don't wear them, get rid of masks, they've also cross-pollinated with the QAnoners. And they propagate and they propagate. Unfortunately, because, again, QAnon believes that Trump is the white savior of mankind, the Republican Party has started to take on a lot of the Q knowledge, the Q crumbs, whatever you want to be called. So you've got Eric Trump, who is now Instagramming posts that have the where we go one, we go all, hashtags at the bottom of them. Trump has retweeted accounts that are associated with QAnon. Michael Flynn has taken the QAnon pledge. Numerous members of the Republican Party have said that they support the QAnon theory. And again, this is a theory that is based in abject nonsense fever dream. So that's the really weird thing about this, is that so many Americans genuinely believe something that is so far beyond the pale of reality. It's one thing if you want to believe JFK was assassinated by a second gunman on the grassy knoll. That to me is kind of fine, because at the end of the day, when it comes to the people who believe that, they kind of just meet on Tuesdays in some like low-end hipster cafe somewhere, and they have weird facial hair. You know, when they like you can't really grow it consistently, so it comes in little parses. So there's weird bushes of facial hair like that, and they just sit in the circle and they drink kombucha, and they talk about how, you know, oh, when the smoky veil is lifted, we will know the truth about the second assassin on the grassy knoll, and that's as far as it goes, and it's harmless, and it's just like, okay, you go do your things, you enjoy it, that's fine. They're not meeting and collaborating and weaponizing, and by like definitively weaponizing and attacking one another, and it's grown. So QAnon used to be on Reddit. Reddit shut them down. And when they shut them down, they effectively spread QAnon to all different sections of the internet. But for a while, the fever dream was starting to subside, all right? The fever broke, and everyone was like, okay, QAnon is becoming less of a threat. And then they migrated to Facebook and to Twitter. So that was sort of content and accounts associated with QAnon and trends and recommendations. We will work to ensure that we're not highlighting this activity in search and in conversations, block URLs associated with QAnon from being shared on Twitter. These actions will be rolled out to comprehensively this week. We will continue to review this activity across our service and update our rules to enforcement approach again if necessary. As we work at scale to protect the public conversation in the face of evolving threats, we will continue to lead transparency and offer more context in our efforts. Now, why was I happy to see this? Why was I thrilled? Because I think QAnon is a very dangerous threat, and if someone like Twitter is going to take a stance in this, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with this. Here's why. I don't think I have any control over what Twitter does. I don't think any of you do. None of us do. And I think the right-wingers, by which I mean like your Tim Pools, all that kind of stuff, on that side of the camp, they seem to want to think they have the ability to somehow coerce Twitter or to police Twitter. That's why Tim Pool gets so mad and wants to talk to Jack Dorsey when Joe Rogan has him on, and it's just like, why can't I misgender people? Why can't I say the N-word every day? Why can't I jerk off and talk about the N-word and then post it onto Twitter? Why do you police me? My free speech, Jack Dorsey. Why don't you let me do these things? Whereas I'm of the mind where I have no say. None of us have a say, all right? Twitter does not obey or do what they want to do in terms of following any kind of guiding principle. They follow the all ID dollar. That's what Twitter does. They make executive decisions based on where they think the market is going to go. That's what they've done, and that's what they've always done. They talk about having some kind of like a transparent policy, like, well, we don't allow certain things, we don't want to endanger people. Like, can we all remember back in the day when Twitter started out? They wanted to be the Wild West, and I don't think they ever knew or ever thought that they would grow to the levels that they did. So back in the day, Twitter was like, okay, we're not going to police any speech, none whatsoever. And back in the day, it was just Seth Rogen tweeting about his fucking breakfast. It'd be like, I had some eggs and bacon today. Stoned. Bacon stoned. And that was it. It was harmless, right? And then, of course, some people got on there, and Nazis do what Nazis always do. They ruin everything. So yes, Nazis came onto Twitter and started doing Nazi shit. And so all of a sudden we were like, well, we got to do some policing, right? We can't just have unadulterated free speech, because we don't allow that in society, right? Society doesn't allow for these things. We don't allow Nazis to just walk along the streets and scream the N-word at people. So we can't have that on the Twitters either. So they started to police free speech. The problem became that Twitter grew to the point where, 1/7 of the human population uses it? Like, it's no longer just a small little tech company. It's now in the public interest. Like, it's something that you pretty much use if you want to communicate in terms of politics or in other ways like that. It's become the same thing as Facebook or Instagram or Pornhub. It's like it's a necessity in everyday discourse and human use. So then the power comes to, if you have something that is part of the human experience, you then are going to be the arbiters of free speech. That's where this whole argument comes down to. That's what this all boils down to. If you have something that has become so large and so ubiquitous in the human experience, then you have become the arbiter of speech. It is you who's going to determine what we can say and what we can't say, and that's a very scary thing. Now, lefties on the other side of the aisle, we're the ones who are like, well, you've grown to a point where I think you should be nationalized. You've grown to the point where you are now a public utility. I don't think that Jack Dorsey should have unilateral power. I don't think a single corporation should have a monopoly to the point where they've grown to such a size where they can police our actual speech. That is a danger. That is a problem, and that is something I will fully agree with anyone who's on that side of the aisle. All right, that's kind of just what has happened here. That's the thing. It's not a free speech absolutist. She's basically saying that I don't think you should be banning conspiracy content. Now, ShoeOnHead's is this a verb? Upsettiness at this whole thing has a lot more to do with the fact that, again, similar to myself, and I'm saying this because I spoke to ShoeOnHead offline, and that's where this story's gonna accelerate from being ridiculous to fucking hilarious. Oh yes, I got some dirt. I got some tea to spill. All right, I got some premium tea for y'all. That's what we're going to talk about some drama. But anyways, her upsettiness with this whole thing has a lot to do with the fact that she's upset at Twitter. Twitter being this kind of ubiquitous arbiter of what is right, about what is speech, free speech, what is good, what is bad, and I agree with that. We're coming at this from different angles, right? I just am pretty solidified in the sense that I don't have any power over Twitter. I cannot determine whether or not Twitter makes a good idea or a bad idea. I can revel sometimes and take a little bit of happiness if they did an idea that I agree with, which is this one, which is like, yeah, shut QAnon down because it's growing so rapidly, it's out of control. And you know why Twitter did this, by the way? The secret, if you want me to lift the veil, Twitter did this because they're seeing the future. All right, and that's Jack Dorsey. He lives inside elephant placentas, and so he can actually see the future. No, Twitter is basically like most tech companies. They're seeing what the next election is going to be. Everyone was so outraged when they were like, "Oh, what? Facebook is conservative? Mark Zuckerberg is conservative? He pals around with cons? He's a billionaire." At that point, they don't think of human beings as human beings. They think of us as cabbage. They think of me as cauliflower. All right, I'm just a delicious cauliflower to him. Have you seen him? Have you seen him wakeboarding? Have you seen that face? Have you seen him look like Kirby? Like, he doesn't think of human beings as human beings. He isn't a human being anymore. He's become the cauliflower. Like, it's the full evolution. I don't know where I was going with this. Oh yeah, sorry. So anyways, Twitter was basically like, at the end of the day, Trump's gonna lose the election. It's I mean, whether or not he accepts the results, but it looks pretty firmly that Trump's going to lose the election. When Trump loses the election, what do you think is going to happen to the QAnon crowd? All these heavily armed people who believe genuinely that the president of the United States is the savior of mankind, and that there's a secret pedophile ring operating in cahoots with the bankers, in cahoots with the liberals and the media, and now they've got to actively not only fight for their rights, but fight for kids. They've got to defend the kids. Like, all these QAnoners who are actually, like, attacking people and doing serious, like, damage and burning California to the ground and stuff like that, they all talk the same way. They all feel they're genuinely saving children. It's the same thing with the people who shot up the mosques thinking that they were saving humanity from whatever Ben Shapiro was espousing that week. They've been programmed by this online shit to take it back and then think, oh wow, yeah, I've got to do this. I've got to go save it. So I can't say who let me in on this information. I have it from a high on source. All right. I'll just say for the record, it was not ShoeOnHead. All right. I've never spoken to ShoeOnHead. I don't even know who that is. I'm sure she does TikTok or something. She's probably one of the TikTok teens. Whatever. But I have it from another source. Someone else told me that apparently Paul Joseph Watson slid on in to ShoeOnHead's DMs right afterwards. Just slithered his way in there, looking for some breakfast. He's hungry for some eggs. He wants some eggs. And apparently he was real sad. He was upset. He was real sad that everyone started making fun of him. Like, rationality disconnect, start saying mean things. Stop taking away my joy of making up conspiracies about pedos harvesting adrenochrome for children. What the fuck, Paul? Stop making up quotes that I never said, loser. I'm sorry, do you not like it when I apply what you said to actual conspiracies? Oh, no more responses. But apparently he was real sad. Yeah, he was real sad. It hurt his feelings. He was like, why are people mean to me online? I don't get it. Why would anyone be mean to Paul Joseph Watson? He's a journalist. He's a journalist, damn it. Don't you know? Don't all of you know? He's just telling the truth. He's revealing the stories. Okay.
Exploit them for the next 20 years by hypersexualizing everything they do for the consumption of teenage girls. What message does that send? What role models do teenage girls have who aren't scantily clad hoes, twerking around to canned pop songs written by computer algorithms owned by Sony, UMG and Warner? Billie Eilish says she may want to show her body and look desirable in a music video after she turns 18. The bad guy singer said in a new interview that she wanted the option to show her body when she turned 18. An about-face from her previous statement saying she purposefully wore baggy and oversized clothes to hide her body from would-be body shaming.
To our monarch, Thomas Bone, you are the light that guides our path. To our lords, I'm Raph, Stephen, Nine Tails Cosmic Fox, and Hans Josephine, we bow meekly for your pleasure. To our knights of the Round Table, Josh Mickelson, Dylan Byth, Alexander Thaler, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, Todd Lajeunesse, Clement Schutzkopf, Sky Bear Games, Moss Beast, Political Puppy, Alan R., Andreas Chitoro, Good Poon Hates Cops, that's solid poon then, we salute you. And to all our merchants and farmers, you have our undying loyalty and love.